All right, welcome to Survive to Thrive, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Today, I am on page 49 in Shift. So if you've got a copy at home and you want to read along, I'm on page 49. Now, I'm just going to read the first paragraph to you, and then we're going to go right to the whiteboard. So fewer leads, fewer showings, increased days on market. Fewer leads, fewer showings, increased days on market. Pay attention. Fewer leads, fewer showings, increased days on market. Just put a thumbs up in the chat if you're in that market, right? Fewer leads, fewer showings, increased days on market. The minute, pay attention to the words, guys. The minute these signs show up, take notice, don't ignore them, and don't wait to act. So let's talk about the anatomy of a shift. And if you would, just please write down what you see on the whiteboard there at home. And where this is going to be a really simple conversation, which is going to lead to a more complicated conversation. But let's start with the anatomy of a shift. So fewer leads, fewer showings, increased days on market. These are the early warning signs of what is coming next. So if you're looking at your local real estate market, or if you're just looking at your business, fewer leads. Are you getting fewer phone calls from people who want to buy and sell? Think back to 2021 when the market was really, really hot. We sold 6.3 million homes in the United States in 2021. Were you getting more calls? Did you get more friends and family members and past clients who called and said, I'm looking to buy a home, or I want to sell my home, or I know somebody who's thinking of selling their home, you should give them a call? Now, fast forward 3 years later, we're getting fewer of these calls. We're getting fewer leads. For those of you who have a lead source platform that you're using, are you getting fewer leads today than you did even a year ago? And I know the answer is yes, because I talked to you guys. So there's fewer leads. Now, the next thing that we're going to see is we're going to see fewer showings. So you're putting a home on the market and 2 weeks go by and nobody's looked at it. Now you expect when you put a home on the market and it's a brand new listing, you expect 2 to 3 showings a week. And you go 2 weeks and you've had no showings. So what's showing up? Fewer showings. So we have fewer leads. Now we have fewer showings. According to the National Association of Realtors, and these are the conversations you need to have with your sellers, everybody. According to the National Association of Realtors, we should average at least 1 or 2 showings a week. And after 10 qualified showings, we should get an offer. And if we're not getting 1 to 2 showings a week minimum, and we've had those showings, but we haven't gotten an offer, the market is talking to us. Script, write it down. The market is talking to us, and what the market is saying is we've priced our home above the market. Now, pay attention to the words that I'm using here because you're a partner with that seller. You're not telling them you've priced your home too high. We've priced our home above the market. And what we need to do in order to increase activity, to get more showings and get offers, is we have to make an aggressive price improvement. We need to improve the price by 5% or 10% in order to get in front of the market, in order to get where the market is going. All right, so fewer showings. That was a little bit of a bunny trail. Sorry for that, but I hope it's okay. Fewer showings, fewer leads, and increased days on market. These are the early warning signs of what is coming next. So then the question becomes, okay, what's coming next? Well, what's coming next is we're going to have more inventory. There's going to be more homes on the market than there were a year ago, more than there were 2 years ago and 3 years ago. We're going from a market where there was less than 30 days of inventory and homes were selling very fast with multiple offers, to a market where now you've got 90 days of inventory. You've got 4, 5, 6 months of inventory, and it feels like it happened overnight. It feels like that because it basically did. And more inventory leads to fewer pending contracts. So now what that means for you, the real estate agent, is there's less available income for all of the real estate agents who are competing for a smaller piece of a smaller pie. You've got 1.5 million real estate agents in the US, and we sold 4 million homes in 2023. That's less than 3 sales per agent. So there's fewer pendings, there's less available income for more real estate agents. Create panic. And what do? So here's the solution. What I've done so far is I've presented you with the problem, cross that word out, better word, challenge. I've presented you with the challenge. Now here's the solution. The solution is a more concerted effort to generate leads. Please write it down. A more concerted effort to generate leads. Now, what does that mean? Because you have to get super clear on this. Otherwise, a more concerted effort to generate leads isn't enough. What is more? What is more? What does that look like? So my first answer would be you have to double down. Whatever you were doing, you need to double it. If you were spending an hour a day in lead generation, you need to go to 2 hours a day. If you were having 5 conversations every day with potential buyers and sellers, you need to double it. You need to get to 10. And by the way, 10 probably isn't going to be enough. And by the way, 2 hours probably isn't going to be enough. A more concerted effort to me means whatever it takes. Whatever it takes for me to hit my standards. Write this down. 20 conversations and 1 appointment booked, whichever comes last. If you will set a standard and live to that standard, then you've found a solution to the challenge of a shift. The job is find the motivated. Find the buyers who are ready, willing, and able, who need to buy a home in the next 30 days. Find the motivated. What if your standard was, I am going to lead generate every single day until I have 1 appointment with a potential buyer or seller in order to find the motivated. Now I'm going to choose to only work with the motivated. So 1 of 3 things typically happen when I meet with a potential buyer or seller. One of those 3 things are going to happen today. Script. Either they hire me, which is great, or they don't hire me, which isn't so great, or I may choose not to work with them. All right, here's where you're meeting with that potential buyer or seller, and you're choosing whether or not you're going to work with them based on 1 thing. And the 1 thing is their level of motivation. If their level of motivation is a 10 on a scale of 10, then get to work. If their level of motivation is a 6 or a 7, I don't know, but I don't think I want to work with that person. Now, I may put them in long-term nurture because maybe their motivation is going to change. But at the point right now, they're not going to do what they need to do in order to get their home sold. So it's going to be one of those homes that are sitting. All right, more concerted effort to generate leads. Number 2, this is the solution to the challenge of a shift. Number 2, more rigorous and resolute in your lead generation than ever before. More rigorous and resolute in your lead generation than ever before. Look up those words. Rigorous and resolute. What do they mean? What does this look like? What does a more rigorous and resolute lead generation effort on your part look like? What if you answer the question, what's the 1 thing that I'm currently not doing that if I were to start doing it today would move me closer to my goal? What's the 1 thing that I'm currently not doing that if I started doing it today would move me closer to my goal? You make a list of what you're not doing that you could start doing today. Find the best item on that list and start doing it today. By the way, I promise you it's going to be something you don't want to do. So your first thought is going to be, well, it would be calling expireds because there's more and more expireds. So that would be calling expireds. I don't want to do that. So what? Now what? What's more painful, calling expired listings or not being able to pay your bills? Now, if it's not being able to pay your bills, the greater pain is going to win. So you don't want to call expired listings. That sucks. Who wants to do that? Not being able to pay your bills. That sucks more. So I'm going to choose calling expired listings over not being able to pay my bills. I'm going for it. Let's make the calls. All right. The third thing that you're going to do in order to solve the challenge of a shift is going back to more rigorous and resolute in your lead generation than ever before, and more so than anybody else. So here's what that means. This is a competition. There is so much available business. You got a pie and you've got 4,000 homes that are being sold in that pie. That's it. Just say that's the number. And you've got 1.5 million real estate agents competing over those 4 million homes. So the challenge is you're in a competition to find the motivated. Please write that down. I'm in a competition to find the motivated. Now, my job is to get my unfair share. If you read the books, 10x is easier than 2x. The whole idea behind this book is if you set a goal to take 10 listings every month, or better yet, you set a goal to take $5 million worth of listings every single month, and you set a standard that says, okay, I'm focusing on a price point that's greater than X, and that is going to get me to $5 million in listings every single month. Easier because I'm taking higher price listings. Now, why is 10x easier than 2x? Because the competition for 10x is almost non-existent. Most people live their lives in a 2x position where they're competing with 10% more. I want to increase my business by 10% more. Well, guess what? So does everybody else. Now, all of you are competing with one another for that little incremental increase in your business. If you were to say, I'm going to increase my business 10 times, and in order to do that, I'm going to do this. This is it. And I'm going to give up everything else. Well, you have less competition now. So if the solution is to be more rigorous and resolute than ever before, and more so than anyone else, I don't want you to hear work harder, work longer. I want you to hear be different. What can I do that I'm currently not doing, that if I were to start doing it today, would move me closer to that goal? All right, now is the time to shift your lead generation activities into the highest gear possible. All right, talk to me, guys. What'd you hear?
Hey, John.
Yes.
There's definitely fewer showings. I don't have fewer leads, but it definitely has taken more than double the efforts. And I'm not converting as many leads, so still fewer transactions, but I am working more than twice as hard for the same amount of leads.
Okay, so you have leads are not a problem for you because you've doubled the effort in order to get the leads. Is that correct, Joanne?
And fewer leads are motivated.
Okay.
Oh, yes, that's correct.
What becomes the question then? Okay, out of the leads that you have, let's talk buyer leads for a moment. Out of the leads that you have, how many of them need to buy a home in the next 30 days? 10%? 20%?
Yeah, maybe 10%.
Okay, there you go. So that's the challenge. It's not how many leads you have, it's how many leads do you have that are 10 on a scale of 10 when it comes to motivation. Got to find the motivated.
Everyone's casually looking for the perfect house.
Okay, casually looking for the perfect house. And you ask a buyer when they say that, well, what are you looking for? And then they describe what they're looking for, and you get an answer that pretty much the entire world would say, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a home at 80 cents on the dollar. Well, duh, so is everybody else. By the way, if I find that house, I'm not going to sell it to you. I'm going to buy it. All right. Sorry, that was negative.
I hear a lot of, I want to wait till after the election.
Interesting, right? Yeah.
I hear that too. I wanted to piggyback off that. Yeah, I hear a lot of that.
Okay. So how would you respond to that, guys? My immediate thought, well, 1 second. My immediate thought on that is that's the holiday script. Anybody want to chime in on that?
My thought is, oh, you want to wait till everybody else jumps back in the market and you have a lot more competition? You want to pay more for our home is what you're saying.
Okay, there we go. So that's the holiday script. Now, focusing on sellers, Brian was focusing on the buyer, focusing on sellers. If you're thinking of waiting until after the election, is it possible that there's a lot of other people who are thinking the same thing? Yes. Now, if you put your home on the market after the holiday or see, there we go, after the election, and so does everybody else, is there going to be more competition or less competition? Well, more. Will it be easier to sell your home when you have less competition today or when you have more competition after the election? Now, by the way, what price do you have in mind? $800,000. If a buyer showed up at your front door next week with $800,000 cash, what would you do? I'd sell my home. If your home's not on the market, what are the odds of getting that buyer to show up with $800,000? Zero. So what should we do? Let's list it now. Does it always work? No. And it never works when you don't use it.
Another thing I hear a lot too is the interest rates. And I always tell people, I always say, well, if you're going to buy a home whenever the interest rates come down, guess what everybody else is doing? They're all buying houses because the interest rates just came down. You're better off to buy now when the prices aren't bad and then refinance later. That's what I like to tell people too.
Okay. Rachel, so impressed. I mean, you're growing so fast. I'm really impressed by that. All right, I'm going to leave you with one thing, everybody. Logic makes us think, emotion makes us act. Now, what I'm hearing is I'm hearing a lot of logic, even for me. All right, the holiday script is 100% logic. Is it going to be easier to sell your home when there's less competition or when there's more competition? It's logic. Logic makes us think, emotion makes us act. So what I want all of us to work on is get to the emotion. Get to the emotion of the conversation. That's where people are going to make new decisions based on new information. You're never going to get them to change their mind. It's like when your kids came to you and said, can we go get ice cream? Maybe. Can we go get ice cream? Later. Can we go get ice cream? No. Please, no. Please, no. Anybody else's kids do this? I was a horrible father. So when Lacey did this to me and she'd go, please, like a dozen times, I would go, yes, yeah. And she'd go, really? I'm like, no, I'm not going to just change my mind. Oh, it's horrible. Just horrible. For those of you with younger kids, please don't do that. All right, everybody, make it a great day.
See, with grandkids, we just say yes and then send them back home to mom and dad.
There you go. Oh,
That's true.
wow.
Hey, John, what is the Facebook page, the name of the Facebook page, so I can rewatch this?
Yeah, survive to thrive.
That's right. Okay, thank you.
There you go. All right, everybody.
John,
Thanks, Sean.
I know it's the end of our call, but if you have one more second,
Sure.
maybe thinking about the script for, I'll give you an example. One of my buyers' dream houses just came on the market and it's about $100,000 overpriced. I talked to the seller because it's investor and realtor partner, and he says, I said, did you have it appraised? And he said, oh, we haven't done it yet, but you know, we've done the comps, and he noted comps that are 2 years old and then compared it to what's active around him. That's not selling. And he says, we feel like we probably could have gotten more out of it, but we're comfortable with where we're priced. And I was like, okay,
All right, so the
I
script,
have a buyer for you.
the script for the other real estate agent. Correct?
Correct.
You've got the buyer, correct? Okay,
Correct.
so I mean, I'll share with you my quick blink on this. I'll make an offer contingent on appraisal with an agreement that the seller will agree to sell at appraised value.
Fair. I think that's great.
Now, the risk is the buyer has to be willing to pay more if the appraisal comes in higher than they think it will. But now you get to the emotion. This is the emotion part of the conversation. What is living in that house going to do for you? Tell me what the next 10 years of your life look like living in that dream home. Dig deep on those answers. Get to the emotion. Have that conversation first, then ask them if the appraisal comes in higher than you think. How are you going to feel about that? Now, if they're making a decision based on emotion, they're fine. It's more than we want to pay, but it's worth it. It's worth it in order to have this, and this. All right, everybody, make it a great day. See you tomorrow.
Thanks, John.
Thanks for that, John.
Thanks, John.
You got it.